We all experience job dissatisfaction from time to time. But what happens when work becomes more than just a source of stress? What if it starts to negatively impact our health? For many people, this is their reality. Their workplace is not just demanding, it's detrimental to their well-being. The constant dread, fatigue, and emotional numbness they experience aren't just signs of a tough job. They are warning signs of a much deeper issue. We often dismiss these feelings. We tell ourselves to push through, that everyone feels this way sometimes. But what if we started to view these experiences differently? What if we acknowledge that for some, the workplace can be a breeding ground for chronic harm? Recent research is shedding light on this very issue. Studies in fields like occupational health, trauma, and neurobiology are confirming what many have instinctively felt. Toxic work environments pose a serious threat to our mental and physical health. This isn't just an abstract concept. The impact is real and tangible. Our minds might try to rationalize this situation, but our bodies tell a different story. Over time, the toll this takes on our well-being becomes significant. Many individuals find themselves grappling with symptoms that mirror those of trauma: difficulty sleeping, constant anxiety, emotional detachment, and a persistent feeling that they are flawed for not being able to cope. They feel broken, depleted, and lost. However, in many cases, the truth is far simpler. These individuals are not broken. They are reacting normally to unhealthy and unsustainable environments. For these individuals, the decision to leave their job isn't simply about achieving a better work-life balance. It becomes an act of self-preservation. Walking away is a declaration of their worth. It allows them to reclaim control over their lives and their well-being. Quitting in these circumstances is not a sign of weakness. It's often the first step towards healing and recovery. When our workplace becomes a source of constant stress, our bodies react as if we're in danger. This stress response is hardwired into us. It's designed to protect us from immediate threats. But in toxic work environments, this response becomes harmful. Chronic stress impairs memory, focus, and decision-making. It weakens our immune system and increases the risk of health problems. Understanding this can empower you to prioritize your well-being. Imagine your workplace as a constant source of low-grade threat. Whether it's a toxic boss, unrealistic workloads, or a complete misalignment with your values, your brain and body interpret these stressors as danger. This activates your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis, managing your stress response. Chronic activation of the HPA axis has a detrimental effect on your brain. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is beneficial in short bursts, but prolonged exposure can wreak havoc on your cognitive abilities. You might find yourself struggling to remember things, make decisions, or maintain focus. This cognitive impairment can be incredibly frustrating and can even impact your professional performance. But these cognitive struggles aren't a sign of weakness. They're a direct result of the physiological impact of chronic workplace stress. The emotional toll is just as significant. When your HPA axis is constantly activated, it can lead to a cascade of emotional challenges. You might experience increased anxiety, find it harder to regulate your emotions, or feel emotionally numb and disconnected from yourself and others. This emotional dysregulation can seep into all areas of your life, impacting your relationships, your hobbies, and your overall sense of well-being. It's essential to understand that these emotional changes are not your fault. They're a predictable outcome of prolonged exposure to a stressful and unhealthy work environment. Recognizing this can be a crucial step in cultivating self-compassion and beginning to heal. While our minds might try to downplay the severity of chronic workplace stress, our bodies keep an honest account. The physiological impacts of a toxic job can manifest in a myriad of ways, often mimicking symptoms of other health conditions. One of the most common signs is persistent fatigue that doesn't improve even with rest. You might wake up feeling exhausted, drag yourself through the day, and find it impossible to shake off the feeling of depletion. This constant fatigue can make even the simplest tasks feel insurmountable, further contributing to feelings of inadequacy and self-blame. But the fatigue is just one piece of the puzzle. Chronic stress can disrupt your sleep patterns, leaving you tossing and turning at night, unable to find restful sleep. This lack of quality sleep further exacerbates the fatigue, creating a vicious cycle that can be difficult to break free from. And the impact doesn't stop there. Prolonged exposure to stress hormones can dysregulate your endocrine system, the intricate network responsible for regulating hormones that impact everything from your metabolism to your mood. This can lead to a whole host of physical and emotional symptoms, including unexplained weight fluctuations, digestive issues like irritable bowel syndrome, changes in appetite, and even decreased libido. It's essential to recognize that these seemingly disparate symptoms can all stem from the same root cause, a chronically activated stress response due to a toxic work environment. Your body is trying to tell you that something is deeply wrong, that your system is out of balance and in desperate need of attention. Burnout is a clinically recognized occupational syndrome with serious consequences. It unfolds gradually due to chronic workplace stress, leading to emotional exhaustion, detachment, and a reduced sense of accomplishment. Recognizing the signs early is essential for seeking support and prioritizing well-being. Burnout is not simply a matter of having a bad day or feeling temporarily overwhelmed. It's a complex syndrome, a slow burn that can leave you feeling emotionally, physically, and professionally depleted. Emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment are its core dimensions. Together, they create a perfect storm of emotional, psychological, and physical distress. In our achievement-oriented culture, it's easy to internalize burnout as a personal failing. We might blame ourselves for not being strong enough, resilient enough, or dedicated enough to handle the demands of our jobs. But this self-blame is often misplaced. While individual factors can contribute to burnout, it's crucial to recognize that burnout is often a symptom of a much larger problem, a systemic failure to create humane and sustainable work environments. Burnout often thrives in organizations that prioritize productivity and profit over the well-being of their employees. These workplaces often have a culture of overwork, where long hours and a relentless pace are seen as badges of honor, while setting boundaries or prioritizing self-care is perceived as weakness. Toxic leadership also plays a significant role in fostering burnout. Bosses who micromanage, withhold recognition, and create a culture of fear and intimidation can create a breeding ground for emotional exhaustion and cynicism among their employees. Another contributing factor is a lack of autonomy and control over one's work. When employees feel like they have little say in how they do their jobs, when their contributions aren't valued, and when their voices aren't heard, it can lead to feelings of helplessness and a sense that their work lacks meaning or purpose. It's essential to remember that burnout is not a sign that you are inadequate or incapable. It's often a sign that the system you're operating within is broken, that the demands being placed upon you are unreasonable, unsustainable, and ultimately harmful to your well-being. Recognizing the systemic roots of burnout can be both liberating and empowering. It allows you to shift from self-blame to a more accurate understanding of the problem, opening up possibilities for collective action and systemic change. Beyond managing burnout, rethinking work in the face of chronic stress. In today's fast-paced work culture, managing burnout is common. We're bombarded with stress reduction techniques and mindfulness apps. But these often miss the mark. They place the onus on individuals to adapt to unhealthy systems. Self-care is essential, but not a sustainable solution. Addressing burnout requires a paradigm shift. We need systemic changes in work structures and valuing well-being. The trauma of toxicity when work becomes unsafe. We often associate trauma with sudden catastrophic events, natural disasters, accidents, or acts of violence. But trauma can also unfold slowly, insidiously, within the seemingly ordinary walls of a toxic workplace. These environments, characterized by chronic hostility, exploitation, or a fundamental disregard for human dignity, can inflict deep psychological wounds that mirror those caused by more overt forms of trauma. Imagine a workplace where microaggressions are commonplace, where manipulative leadership tactics create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, where speaking up is met with retaliation rather than resolution. In these settings, the daily grind becomes a minefield of emotional hazards. eroding your sense of safety, self-worth, and trust in others. For individuals already marginalized due to their race, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or other aspects of their identity, this toxicity can be amplified as systemic oppression intersects with workplace dysfunction, creating a particularly insidious form of harm. In these environments, the basic human need for psychological safety, the feeling of being accepted, respected, and valued for who you are, is routinely violated. The workplace becomes less about collaboration and growth, and more about navigating a minefield of emotional triggers and potential threats. This constant state of hypervigilance takes a toll, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted, on edge, and deeply unsafe, even within the confines of your own mind. What might seem like just a job to some can become a source of profound psychological distress for those subjected to these conditions day after day. The trauma of toxicity is real, and its impact can be just as profound and long-lasting as trauma stemming from more overt forms of harm. Recognizing the signs of complex trauma in the workplace. Trauma often brings flashbacks and nightmares, but chronic workplace toxicity manifests subtly. Hypervigilance, emotional blunting, and trust issues are common signs. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards healing. Healing from workplace trauma is about acknowledging the impact, honoring your resilience, and rebuilding safety, trust, and self-worth. Name what happened, acknowledge the toxic environment, and seek support from a trauma-informed therapist. Practices like yoga, meditation, and breathwork can help regulate your nervous system and reconnect with your body. Healing is not linear. Be patient and practice self-compassion. Shift towards work that aligns with your values and well-being. Leaving a toxic job is rarely easy. It can feel like stepping off a cliff, even when you know staying is slowly eroding your well-being. Doubt, fear, and uncertainty can cloud your judgment, making it challenging to trust your instincts and prioritize your needs. Yet time and time again, research and clinical experience demonstrate that leaving a harmful work environment can be a turning point in an individual's mental and physical health journey. When you're caught in the throes of a toxic workplace, it's like your nervous system is stuck in overdrive. The constant stress, anxiety, and emotional turmoil keep your body in a state of fight or flight, even when there's no immediate danger. This chronic activation of your stress response takes a toll, leading to a cascade of physical, emotional, and cognitive symptoms that can leave you feeling depleted, disconnected, and utterly overwhelmed. But here's the good news. When you remove yourself from that toxic environment, your body and mind can finally begin to heal. It's like releasing a pressure valve, allowing your system to slowly return to a state of equilibrium. This process of recovery is not always linear or immediate. It takes time, patience, and often a good deal of self-compassion. However, the potential for healing is real, and the benefits can be profound. Many people who have made the courageous decision to leave toxic jobs report experiencing a significant improvement in their overall well-being, often within a relatively short period. It's like a weight has been lifted from their shoulders, allowing them to breathe deeply, think clearly, and reconnect with themselves and the world around them in a way that felt impossible while they were still trapped in that toxic environment. To truly understand the transformative power of leaving a toxic job, it's helpful to delve into the neurobiology of stress recovery. Your nervous system is incredibly adaptable, constantly responding to cues from your environment to ensure your survival. When you're chronically exposed to stress, your sympathetic nervous system, responsible for the fight or flight response, becomes dominant. This means your body is constantly primed for action, even when there's no immediate threat. Your heart rate and blood pressure might be elevated, your muscles tense, your sleep disrupted, and your digestion compromised, all because your body believes it's in a constant state of danger. However, when you remove yourself from the source of that chronic stress, something remarkable happens. Your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest, repair, and digestion, can finally come out of hiding and begin to do its job. Think of it like this. Your sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal, and your parasympathetic nervous system is the brake. In a toxic work environment, your foot is stuck on the gas, even when you're parked in your own driveway. Leaving that environment allows you to finally take your foot off the gas and let the car coast to a stop. As your parasympathetic nervous system regains dominance, you'll likely notice a whole host of positive changes. Your heart rate and blood pressure will stabilize, your muscles will relax, your sleep will improve, and your digestion will regulate. But the benefits extend far beyond these physical improvements. Your emotional landscape will also begin to shift. You might find yourself feeling calmer, more centered, and less reactive. Your capacity for joy, pleasure, and connection, all of which can become muted under chronic stress, will likely begin to return. This is your nervous system returning to its natural state of balance, a state where healing and growth can finally occur. To understand the power of leaving a toxic job, delve into the neurobiology of stress recovery. Chronic stress keeps your body in fight or flight mode, but removing stress lets your body heal. Your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest and repair, can finally do its job. You'll notice positive changes: stabilized heart rate, relaxed muscles, improved sleep, and better digestion. Your emotional landscape will shift, feeling calmer, more centered, and less reactive. This is your nervous system returning to balance, where healing and growth can occur. Creating space for healing, the power of leaving to rediscover yourself. Leaving a toxic job is not just about escaping a harmful environment. It's about creating space for something new to emerge, a space where you can reconnect with yourself, your values, and your aspirations. When you're constantly bombarded with stress and negativity, it's easy to lose sight of who you are at your core. Your energy is directed towards simply surviving the day, leaving little room for self-reflection, growth, or the pursuit of your passions. But when you remove yourself from that toxic environment, you create a vacuum. And nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. Into that space, you have the opportunity to invite in new experiences, reconnect with old passions, and begin to explore aspects of yourself that might have been dormant or suppressed under the weight of chronic stress. This process of rediscovering yourself is deeply personal and unique to each individual. For some, it might involve rekindling a creative pursuit, exploring a new career path, or dedicating more time to nurturing relationships that bring joy and meaning. For others, it might involve seeking therapy, engaging in spiritual practices, or simply spending time in nature, allowing themselves to heal and recharge in whatever ways feel most nourishing. The key is to approach this period of transition with curiosity, compassion, and a willingness to experiment. There's no right or wrong way to rediscover yourself, and what brings you joy and fulfillment might surprise you. Leaving a toxic job can feel like a loss, an ending, and in many ways it is. But it's also an opportunity for a new beginning, a chance to reclaim your life, your health, and your sense of self. It's an invitation to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with a sense of hope, and the knowledge that you are worthy of a work life that supports your well-being and allows you to thrive. Sometimes our bodies send us signals long before our minds are ready to acknowledge them. This is especially true when it comes to recognizing the need to leave a toxic job. We might rationalize, minimize, or make excuses for the ways in which our work is impacting our well-being, but our bodies tell a different story. They keep score of every sleepless night, every anxious thought, every pang of dread that ripples through us as we log in for another day. If you're on the fence about whether it's time to leave your job, it's essential to tune into both your psychological and physical experiences. Your body, in its infinite wisdom, will often signal when it's reached its limit. Psychologically, you might find yourself experiencing frequent dread or panic before work, as if your body is bracing itself for another onslaught of stress. Emotional flatness or numbness can also be a sign that you've disconnected from yourself as a way to cope with an emotionally overwhelming environment. If you're feeling cynical, hopeless, or disconnected from your work and the people you work with, it's a sign that the environment might be taking a toll on your spirit. Perhaps you've noticed a loss of identity or a sense of purpose. Work that once felt meaningful might now feel empty and unfulfilling. Intrusive thoughts about quitting or escaping are another sign that something needs to change. These thoughts, often dismissed as fleeting fantasies, are often your subconscious mind's way of trying to get your attention, urging you to prioritize your well-being. Pay attention to these psychological cues. They're not random occurrences, they're messages from your inner compass, guiding you towards a path of greater alignment and well-being. Leaving a toxic job doesn't have to be a rash decision. The most empowering exits are made with intention and a strategic plan. Approach your exit as a process that prioritizes your well-being. Financial preparation is crucial for a stress-free transition. Create a financial cushion to navigate the transition with ease. Support from friends, family, or a therapist is invaluable. Set a clear exit timeline to transform intention into action. In the aftermath of a toxic job, it's easy to internalize negative narratives. These voices shape how you view yourself and your capabilities. Remember, these negative beliefs are not truths. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are a human being who deserves respect and dignity. There's a pervasive cultural myth that glorifies perseverance at all costs, that equates quitting with weakness, and that shames those who dare to prioritize their well-being over their productivity. But here's the truth. There's no honor in enduring suffering for its own sake. There's no reward for staying in a job that diminishes your spirit, erodes your health, and leaves you feeling broken and depleted. Walking away from a toxic job is not a sign of failure. It's an act of courage. It's a declaration that you value yourself, your health, and your right to a work life that aligns with your values and aspirations. It's a powerful message to yourself and to the world that you refuse to accept the unacceptable, that you choose to create a different path, one that leads towards healing, growth, and a more fulfilling and authentic life. This journey of reclaiming your life might not always be easy. There might be moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. But trust in your resilience, your inner wisdom, and your capacity for growth. Remember that you are not alone in this journey. Many people have walked this path before you, and many more will walk it after you. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, therapists, or coaches who can provide support, guidance, and encouragement as you navigate this transition. As you step away from the toxicity that has been holding you back, you create space for something new to emerge. You open yourself up to possibilities that might have once seemed unimaginable. A new career path, a creative pursuit, a deeper connection with yourself and your loved ones, or simply the freedom to breathe deeply and rediscover the simple joys of living a life that feels authentic and aligned. This is your life, your journey, your story to tell. Choose to write a narrative of courage, resilience, and self-love. Choose to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with a heart full of hope and the unwavering belief that you are worthy of a life filled with purpose, passion, and profound well-being. Quitting a toxic job might not just change your career trajectory, it might just save your life.